Let's talk about Liverpool against Manchester United in the company of the former Manchester United player and now an MUTV commentator, Ben Thornley.
Good evening, Nathan. How are you? I'm
all right. It's a while since there's been a Liverpool-Manchester United game that's been hyped quite as much as this one.
It certainly is. It's been a long time since the clash of the Titans, if you like, means so much, and it's just such a shame that there's not going to be any fans inside the stadium to see it. But certainly with the position that Manchester United have found themselves in, when you think to where they were this time 12 months ago, fully 22 points behind Liverpool, it just shows how far they've come in such a short space of time, and it just has got the makings of a really, really great game.
And there's a big opportunity here for Manchester United. They go in 3 points clear of Liverpool, an out-of-form Liverpool, but also Liverpool with a fixture list over the next 4 or 5 weeks, where, as well as playing United again in the FA Cup, they play Leipzig in the Champions League, and the run of fixtures in the league includes Tottenham, Manchester City, Leicester, Everton. There's a real chance here for United to lay down a marker and maybe do some fatal damage to Liverpool's hopes of retaining the title.
Yeah, there certainly is. I think there's a lot going in United's favour. Obviously, they're going in a really rich vein of form. Their away form this season has been a success of getting to the top of the table, and recently as well, since probably just prior to Christmas, the Leeds game, if you like, they've now started to pick points up at Old Trafford, which at the start of the season was where they were coming unstuck. There's all sorts of things that you can talk about. You know, it was a year ago virtually the last time United lost away from home, and it was at Anfield, so I'm sure that's going to be talked about. But I think if you'd ask most United fans right now, they would take a draw without playing the game. I think that's the way that all the other clubs apart from Liverpool would like it as well. But the game is obviously going to be played, and if United can get anything more than a draw, then their next 2 fixtures, I think if I remember rightly, are Fulham and Sheffield United, which would be huge if they could get a result against Liverpool and then go and fulfil what United should be doing if they've got aspirations of winning the league and taking 6 points from those 2 fixtures as well.
You talk about the closing of the gap between Liverpool and Manchester United, and it is pretty much a year to the weekend since that game when Liverpool beat Manchester United, and I think Liverpool went 16 points clear at the top. They were a million miles ahead of United. How much of that is Liverpool coming back to the pack and the loss of Virgil van Dijk and the injury problems, and how much are you putting down actually to the improvement that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has brought about over the last 12 months?
Oh, certainly. I think when you're talking about the last time that United lost, which, as you've just alluded to, was at Anfield, since then, we've brought in a certain Bruno Fernandes. And I'm not suggesting for 1 second that one player makes a team, but I think that the inclusion of Bruno Fernandes, or the acquisition, I should say, and the fact that he has been responsible for so many goals that United have scored, either with his assistance or with him scoring the goals himself. And obviously he's come in and taken penalties as well.
He sort of has made the team, though, hasn't he? Because, listen, there's no question they've unbelievably talented players throughout that team. But as well as his goal scoring, his passing ability, it just seems he has the character, that sort of winning mentality that was missing in that dressing room.
Yeah, that's it. I was just coming on to that. I think that his acquisition and his inclusion in the side these days, even right from the start, you could see it in his very, very first game where he was signalling to Aaron Wan-Bissaka where he wanted him to be at a certain particular place when he had the ball. And I think what he's done is his winning mentality, the fact that he doesn't want to miss games, he wants to play every game, he wants to be involved. It's just given everybody else that lift and that, you know, this is where we need to be. This is the level that we need to be playing at, that Bruno is bringing us all up to, so that we can be challenging for domestic honours and for Champions League.
This is where I'm still trying to figure out this Manchester United side in terms of that improvement you're talking about, because Fernandes has been a revelation. But if at the start of the season you were asking how will Manchester United put together a title challenge, you would probably look at the front 3 of last season and Greenwood and his impact and what he could do in a second season and the progress he could make. He's barely even getting any game time at the moment. I think he's 1 Premier League goal so far. Anthony Martial and Rashford, 17 goals each last season. Martial has 2. Rashford has had his moments, but probably still struggling to consistently perform every week. That there is, I don't know if that's a positive or a negative, that there's still a lot to go if you can get those front three firing again. But also, for some reason, it doesn't seem to have fully clicked into gear in an attacking sense this season.
Yeah, there's part of that you've come up with. Obviously, that the stats that are there. That when you are a centre forward, when you are somebody that takes their game on scoring goals, then all three of those players that you just mentioned are well down on the impact that they had last year with the goals that they scored. I think we've had Bruno come in, we've had Cavani come in, Anthony Martial sort of improved quite a lot of his game, but not getting on the end of scoring goals. Marcus Rashford, I watch these guys week in, week out, and you won't get anybody that runs and he's so willing than Marcus. And I think that they're all, apart from Bruno, they're all sort of going through a little bit of a phase at the moment where they're chipping in as and when. But as you quite rightly pointed out, when it actually does all click together, then and another example of that is the fact that Manchester United so far, it's been like a season that's turned on its head from last year, where last year they were doing really, really well against the teams that were in and around them near the top of the table, and they were slipping up against teams at the bottom. Well, at the moment, and stats don't lie, United haven't actually beaten anybody yet in and around the top six. And I'm hoping that those things do go hand in hand, that yes, we maintain what we do with teams that are outside of that, but with the improvement from Anthony Martial and Marcus Rashford and Mason Greenwood, along with Bruno, along with Paul Pogba as well, who looks like he's coming to the fore a little bit, with Edinson Cavani coming in, then if we can replicate what we've already done in the first half of the season into the second, and by that, I mean, obviously people maintaining a level of consistency, some players actually improving their performance levels, then there is absolutely no reason why sitting here in April and May, we should be genuinely talking about Manchester United going for this Premier League title.
A couple of players who've really stepped up over the last couple of months are Scott McTominay and Fred in the middle of midfield. And Pogba's a bit of a conundrum, I guess, for Solskjaer this weekend as to where or if he plays, and going to Anfield, what his role in the team can be. Can you play McTominay and Fred, who I guess Solskjaer would see give him the protection he needs in front of the back four, against the team of Liverpool's attacking talents? Can you play the two of them and play Pogba in the team as well?
Well, I think that what Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has done in games gone by is, I think that we've all seen when he tries to play a back three, it hasn't quite worked. It didn't work against Liverpool at Anfield the last time. It didn't work against Leipzig earlier on in the season. So I would imagine that he would abandon that idea straight away. Plus, it takes a little bit of our attacking prowess, and I think that we are going to need that. It won't be a Burnley, it won't be a West Brom. This is a Liverpool team that will fly at you, but will also give you opportunities to break, and that is how United have played the game all season. Really, is playing on the counter attack and being able to exploit gaps that teams leave, and that includes Liverpool. But I think he probably will go with the diamond. He will have Fred at the base of it, with Paul Pogba to one side, Scott McTominay to the other, and Bruno at the head of it. And he will still stay with the back four. And I firmly believe that he'll probably stick with Eric Bailly and Harry Maguire, and not be tempted to bring Victor Lindelof back into the side, who would be more of a calming influence. But Eric Bailly, you can't argue, has come into the team and has performed extremely well.
It's been a very strange season for obvious factors, and the fact there's so many games consistently means it's very hard to get into a real rhythm of what teams are in form, what teams are out of form, and it's probably reflected then in some of the coverage. And we'd Andy Mitten, who I'm sure you know well, who covers Manchester United, who was on the show yesterday. He was quite critical of certain parts of the Manchester United fan base for how critical they've been of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer throughout parts of this season and going back over the last couple of years. And it's only a week ago since they were beaten by Manchester City in the Cup semi-final, and it was a very flat performance. And again, there was some criticism for Solskjaer there. It's only a month ago since they were knocked out of the Champions League, and he took a hammering for that. It does seem as though it's still quite extreme, the conversation around Manchester United, that as good as they've been to get to this level, to get to the top of the league, that people, and even their own supporters maybe, don't quite trust the team completely just yet.
Well, I mean, the results this season, barring the Spurs result at Old Trafford, which was obviously something that we don't want to relive, conceding 6 goals at home at any time and to whoever. I think that what you always find with Manchester United is because the fans have been loyal and they demand the best. That this transition period, which even I agree has probably gone on a little bit too long from Sir Alex Ferguson's reign, we still needed to give a manager time. We didn't do it with David Moyes, nor with Louis van Gaal, nor with Jose Mourinho. But with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, I think that people have realised that he's got the DNA of the club. He has a certain style with which he wants to play. He has a certain idea of the play that he wants to bring in. And he's been given time and the money to be able to do that. And I'm not saying that it's a finished article yet. The sad thing is that from time to time, because it's Manchester United, that we are only ever 1 or 2 bad results away from saying, give the manager the sack, that, the job should go to somebody else. But who can argue with the job that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has done since he's come in? He has galvanised this team, and the results have proved that because of the gulf that has now been bridged compared to what it was only 12 months ago. And I think he will continue to do that. And whatever doubters that there are still out there at this Manchester United side and its manager and the coaches, then I'm sure that will evaporate very, very quickly. At least I really hope it does, because I think he's done a terrific job. And, for God's sake, we are sitting top of the table.
You were a player at United when Ole Gunnar Solskjaer arrived at the club. When you think back to then, and listen, there was a dressing room with any amount of alpha males in it and any amount of people who went on to be managers and have a lot of influence in the game. Any part of you surprised that he's ended up in this position?
I think probably yes, because I remember him as a player when he came in with Ronnie Johnson in 1996. Still remember the name that was given to him straight away, the baby-faced assassin. And whenever I see him now on match days, his demeanour, he's very calm, he's very open, he's very smiley. And when I think that Sir Alex Ferguson was the manager when I was there, as he was when he was there, and they are just 2 different characters. But different characters doesn't mean that you don't get the same results and you don't get the same outcome. I think that if every manager in the country or in the footballing world was exactly the same, then it would be a dull game. And I think that is what brings this sort of football and brings everybody together with it, is the differing characters that you have. And yes, he's not a screamer, he's not a ranter, but trust me, he is not somebody that suffers fools. And there will be things said behind that dressing room door when there needs to be, that will make people think, hang on a minute, we're not dealing with somebody who is a baby-faced assassin.
Right.
We're dealing with somebody who is extremely, wanting the best for this football club, and will make any decisions that he needs to do to be able to get them to where they need to be, and that is back at the top of the pile.
Because he is an incredibly calm man on the sideline, sitting there, perched up in the stand, legs crossed, watching back replays on the TV, rarely if ever gets off his seat to go down to the sideline, leaves all that to Mike Phelan and his assistants. You do think actually there's another side, because that was a question when things weren't going well. Like, did he have that command? Did he have that sort of aura that you need in a dressing room with the type of characters that are in that Manchester United squad?
Yeah, well, like I just said to you, trust me, even though he might not be, sort of stomping up and down the technical area for 85 minutes of the game, doesn't mean that he is not taking it all in, and doesn't mean that when it gets to the nitty-gritty and he's speaking to his players behind the closed door, that there are things said that need to be said, that obviously you find very, very difficult to do when you're on a touchline. Even with no fans, and they would be able to hear him, he's still not going to do that. The stuff that needs to be said, that maybe is stuff that he wouldn't want people to see in the open, will be said behind closed doors. But he's a journalist's dream, because he speaks to everybody. He's very, very open, Obviously, he's guarded with the things that he says, but he's very, very approachable. But trust me, he can cross that line when he needs to. And as a Manchester United manager, and in order to be successful, at times you have to do that.
Have you much insight into how that managerial structure works at United then, with Solskjaer, Mike Phelan, Michael Carrick, Darren Fletcher's been added in over the last few weeks as to what their roles are and how much influence they have on final team selection, on tactics and on Solskjaer in general?
No, sadly, I don't. I'm not at the training ground on a day-to-day basis, even a weekly basis. I'm really thrilled that he's taken the decision to bring in Darren Fletcher. He's somebody that Sir Alex Ferguson rated very, very highly. Was one of the first names on his team sheet. Has that experience and that mentality of going out and winning things. So I think bringing him in, obviously Michael Carrick has won things as well. Mike Phelan has been in the game a long, long time, a very, very trusted aide of Sir Alex Ferguson when he was here. And how the actual structure works with the day-to-day running of the place, I don't know. But one thing I can say is that he will consult them all, if not individually, but together, and then they will formulate an opinion of, safer, etc., what the team was going to be for the following weekend.
What about Liverpool then? Because
What about him?
Well, what is going on when you're looking at them from afar? There have been times this season where they've put in some of the best performances any side have put in. The victory away at Crystal Palace when they scored 7, followed the victory against Tottenham where they played Spurs off the park, and then they followed that up by dropping points against West Brom, Newcastle, losing to Southampton. That level of inconsistency that's there, is there something structurally wrong in terms of the amount of games and the amount of energy they need? Is it simply that injuries are catching up with them? How could they not be a lesser team if Van Dijk is there? Can you put your finger on what's gone wrong for them over the past few weeks?
All those three teams, Liverpool have conceded 7 to Villa. We conceded 6 to Spurs. City have conceded 5 to Leicester. It would be probably inconceivable to have thought that in any other season, the winners of the Premier League were actually going to take a defeat like the 3 teams we've just mentioned have already taken. Whether it is the amount of games that the teams are being asked to play, whether they've been debilitated by injuries, obviously affected by the coronavirus, whether the fact that it's so simple that some teams are affected by the fact that they don't have fans there, and that's probably more so towards the bottom of the league when you really need a 12th man to be able to unsettle opponents that are coming to you. But there's no question that, listen, Liverpool are still a fantastic side. They've got some wonderful players. Yes, undoubtedly, the fact that Virgil van Dijk is probably going to be out for the rest of the season is a massive blow to them. And I said actually at the back end of last season that I didn't think that the season this year would go so much in Liverpool's favour. And I always felt that if they did get any key injuries to players, either the goalkeeper, who's missed a few games, obviously Van Dijk was another one. Mane was definitely somebody that was always going to be a problem if he was out for any length of time, because I think that he's a fantastic player. And by the way, he didn't play when Aston Villa beat them 7-2, so that tells a little bit of a story as well. But it was how they would cope with big players being injured, because I didn't think that they had a massive depth of quality in their squad. And I think that at times this season that has told. And yes, they have had some poor results. Not winning at Newcastle, not winning against West Brom. Actually, the defeat at Southampton probably didn't come as a shock to many because of the improvements that Southampton and Ralph Hasenhüttl has made there. But it is a season of inconsistencies. We saw Spurs only take a point from Fulham last night. And I think this is the way the season is going to go. And it's whoever can find that level of consistency, that going on a run. That, to be fair, United have been on away from Old Trafford, that probably will separate who will win it and who will be the also-rans. You
mentioned with Manchester United that often there's a sense you're one game away from crisis, and Liverpool are in that similar position as well. And like when you think back to when you were emerging at Manchester United, it was probably a similar situation. They hadn't won the league in a long time. They were champions. There's a pressure that comes with that, an expectation. And when you're in a little bit of a dip, like Liverpool are, within a dressing room like that, what are you looking for? Is that where your manager has to come to the fore, or do the players need to sort that out themselves? Is that where you're relying on Jordan Henderson to sort of grab everybody and bring them back to life?
Well, I can see Jordan Henderson doing that. I personally don't know him, but you can see that he strikes you as that type of character when he's actually on the field, somebody that will rally and somebody that will pull everybody together. I'm pretty sure that Jurgen Klopp on a day-to-day basis will do that. But certainly when it counts and when everybody crosses that white line, you need some leaders out there. And yes, Liverpool have had a couple of dodgy results. There's no two ways about it. But no more so than Manchester United did towards the start of the season, losing to Spurs, losing at home to a very, very poor Arsenal side at the time, who obviously gone under resurgence, losing at home to Palace. In fact, all the games they've lost, Man United, this season have been at Old Trafford, which was where the improvements needed to come. So yes, you know, Liverpool are probably thinking to themselves one or two things. We could really do without Manchester United coming here, who are in the form of their life away from home, or they'll be thinking this is just the game we need to send a statement that it should be us at the top of that league. Just
a couple of things before we wrap up then. You mentioned Sadio Mane and his importance for Liverpool, and if United do go with the back four, and if you have Mane and Robertson over on the left-hand side for Liverpool, are you worried about Wan-Bissaka getting overloaded in that right-back position for United?
Well, I think that's just going to be something that the manager needs to work with. I'm not too worried at all about Aaron Wan-Bissaka coming up one-on-one against either of those two players. But obviously, when you have got the quality of Sadio Mane and Robertson, and if Liverpool are allowed by Manchester United to get into the ascendancy, then that will become much more of an issue, because Alexander-Arnold and Robertson will effectively play virtually as wingers, with the other three, Salah, Firmino, Mane, buzzing around, causing all sorts of problems. So it's important that we don't allow that to happen. That is what they will want to do with the formation that I think Manchester United will go with. That is something that they will probably look to exploit, of getting that sort of 2v1 situation in the wide areas. But it's how Manchester United set up to make sure that Robertson and Alexander-Arnold are kept to at least the halfway line and not allowed to cross it willy-nilly. And if they do, then it's up to Manchester United to win the ball, to turn it over, and to exploit those gaps that those fullbacks will undoubtedly leave.
Give us your prediction.
I'm going for a 2-2 draw. I'm going for a 2-2 draw.
All right, well, there'll be plenty of excitement in that, at least for everybody.
I hope so. I'm doing the commentary, so that'll be great.
All right, well, enjoy it. Enjoy it. You and me both. Unfortunately, we can't travel to it this time round, but enjoy the game.
No, I know. Thanks very much.
Thanks a lot, Ben.
Cheers. Good night.
Ben Thornley there. We look forward to that. Liverpool, Manchester United live from 4:30 on Sunday.